lead for Georgetown. The time, 18. Jordan. North Carolina has won the 1982 NCAA championship.
The Chicago Bulls picked Michael Jordan.
Through a quirk of fate, he fell to number 3, and we were there and able to take advantage of it. And I think you could see early the will to win, the incredible ability to raise his game when the game was on the line. And I think after a month's time in the season that we knew we had something special.
Michael Jordan came flying out of the sky.
Here's Jordan in deep on Elo.
Oh, yeah! Oh!
Look at the air. Look at the hang time. Look at the flying motion.
At the beginning, it was easy to play against the Chicago Bulls. Michael would get 40, he'd get 50, but everybody else would be standing around watching.
They double team now. Walton's come out to meet Jordan. What a great shot, and a basket and a foul.
We had, on the Boston Celtics, the best team that year. The first game, he comes in and he scores 49 points. And so we're sitting in the locker room, we waxed him. And we're sitting in the locker room after the game saying, well, he'll never do that again. He certainly didn't. He scored 63 the very next game.
Bird saves it, but Michael steals the ball. Jordan back to the rack. Whoa!
Fans have not realized that at the beginning of Michael's career, when his game was all about athleticism, when it was all about being an individual out there, he didn't win.
In coaching Michael early, I know the one thing that really used to bother him was, you know, the Pistons at that time, it was Isaiah and his group, and Larry had the Celtics, and Magic had the Lakers, and the supporting cast they had, and all Michael ever heard about in his career was, you don't make anybody around you better. You're great, but...
You knew you couldn't conquer him. You knew you couldn't beat him. However, the way we tried to attack their team was to break down everyone else mentally, to break down his supporting parts, to more or less leave him standing there alone.
When I first came 11 years ago, we were in this gym, and I said, you know, the coach that I had with the Knicks, Red Holzman, always said that a star makes his other players better players. And all of a sudden, their value and their abilities seemed to be magnified by his presence on the court. And Doug Collins was the head coach, said, go tell Mike that right now. Go tell him that right now.
The inbounds pass comes into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win!
That was get the ball, Michael. Everybody get the out of the way. Go to the basket.
My last year there in '89, when went into the Eastern Conference Finals before losing in Game 6 to the Pistons, all of a sudden, I think people really realized what this guy was all about, that he really was the epitome of winning.
We like the fact that we own the Central Division. We like the fact that he was the next Dr. J at that time, and he was going to be the heir apparent of the NBA, and we like quieting it all down and making them stop.
Watch Michael and just take this shot, and as it splashes, he runs through, gets the motion. Yes, Michael.
He never would stop, you know, from start to finish. He would keep coming and coming and coming. And just when you think that he was wearing down physically and mentally, he would go to another level. He just had an engine, you know, just never stopped.
I know a little story. Isaiah was upset about it because he went home and saw his nephew wearing a Michael Jordan jersey. And he didn't like that because, Isaiah was all Chicago. He was Mr. Chicago. He put him on the map. And then Michael just came in and everybody forgot that he played there.
He comes in bounds. Here it is again.
I knew I was beat when I knew he had finally conquered me. We went to Chicago and they beat us, I think in '91, 2 games there, and we came back for Game 3 in Detroit. And I'll never forget it, we were in the 3rd quarter. He looked at me in such a way that, you know, the look that I used to have in my eyes, I now seen that look in his, and it scared the death out of me.
I was in Detroit, and I went to, between the games, I went to dinner one night with Michael. I went to dinner the next night with Isaiah. And it was like being between the two gladiators. And listening to Isaiah talk, he was like, you know, the king of the hill that realized that his kingdom was threatened.
I went out to dinner again that night with Ahmad, and I said, you know, I'm beat. You know, he's got us. And from that point on, you know, once he got on top, our mentality was the same. It's a matter of conquer and destroy. And once he got it, he's never stopped since.
And once the Bulls were able to get past their nemesis, the Pistons, the championships followed. It remains to be seen which team the Bulls will face in this year's playoffs, which begin next week. New Jersey and Washington are battling it out for the 8th and final spot in the East. The Wizards tonight are beating the Boston Celtics by 10 with about 5.5 minutes left to go in their home game. If Washington should win tonight, they also need losses by New Jersey and Orlando tomorrow to claim that final playoff spot in the East and the first-round matchup with Chicago. When we return, part 2 of Michael Jordan, A Champion's Journey. Our special edition of NBA Showtime continues right after these messages. Some of the most memorable moments in Michael Jordan's career have come against the Knicks.
Michael Jordan puts on a show.
Jordan trying to fake starts. Michael Jordan and Xavier McDaniel having words. Michael Jordan. Jordan nearly fouled and the shots go ball. Oh, man.
Now, if Jordan and the Bulls were to face the Knicks in this year's playoffs, it would have to come in the Eastern Conference Finals. Early in his career, there was a perception that Jordan was a great singular talent, but the question lingered, could he lead a team to an NBA title? In the decade of the 90s, that question has been answered in a resounding manner. We continue with A Champion's Journey.
This is what you live for, to play Michael Jordan in the finals.
You know, I thought I was the most competitive person that I ever knew until I met Michael.
3-on-2 for the Bulls. Michael on the drive, in for the right, for the jam.
The Bulls blowing the Lakers out.
The thing about Michael is the fact that he could go 1 for 50 or 1 for 20, but that one shot may be the greatest move you've ever seen in your life.
The look away to Livingston. Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move. A spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
Man, if you know, and that's what makes him special. That's what makes him Michael and everybody else down here.
And the Chicago Bulls have won their first ever NBA championship.
The first one was probably the most special because that was getting to that level, to become a real champion, and his father was there for that. And I think everyone after that is just to reinforce the fact that he is a champion.
Jordan against Drexler. See, this is what Michael lived for. He wanted this challenge.
Three-pointers from Jordan. What in the world is going on?
Here's Jordan for three. Yes! Did you see that one? Michael indicating he can't believe it.
Part of being a champion and part of understanding the mental psyche of a champion is that you take that away from a person before he walks into the game. You make him concede before he steps on the court that not only are you gonna get beat, but it's about how bad I'm gonna beat you.
The one thing you understand about Michael is, like, if you ever do anything with him competitively, if you're fortunate enough to beat him, you're gonna have to play again that very moment.
We went at it in Barcelona.
I mean, at each other. We thought we could beat each other at everything, and we tried to. Free throw, jump shot, three-point, cards, checkers, anything. We wanted to beat each other so bad.
One night in Barcelona, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing. Big argument about who was the best, who was this, who was that. Magic was saying, hey, me and Larry brought this league to where it was. We're the stars, we're this and that and the other. He kept on talking. Finally, Larry Bird goes, Magic, shut up. We were, he is.
The Bulls trying to become only the third team in NBA history to pull off a three-peat.
10 seconds to go, the shot clock, 15 in the ballgame. Michael will take it. He's fouled. He scored! Superman back in the building!
You don't want to lose to him because you have to listen to him. You know, one thing about Michael, he takes no prisoners. And if he beats you, he lets you know it, and he stomps you when you're down. So there's nothing worse than losing to him.
Paxson going for the win.
Here's Paxson for three. Paxson, yes! The Chicago Bulls have 3 straight NBA championships.
When I lose the sense of motivation and the sense of to prove something as a basketball player, it's time for me to move away from the game of basketball.
Today, Michael Jordan, at age 32, tries to accomplish what no one else truly has in team sports history.
And the season is over, my friends. The Magic win it.
When he came back and when he lost to Orlando and he made a big turnover, he said that really bothered him. So every day that summer, no matter what happened, 6 days a week, he was shooting the ball, lifting weights, shooting the ball, lifting weights. And he understood that that was the most important summer, since the summer of his arrival into the NBA.
There it is. 70 has become a reality for the Chicago Bulls.
After a 2-year absence, the Chicago Bulls have regained the NBA throne.
And, you know, there's been a lot of great athletes, but this man has won at the college level. He's won at the Olympic level. He's won now as a pro. He's tasted it all, and he still can't get enough of it.
We're down to 2, down to 1. Here's Jordan. Yes! It's all over. The Chicago Bulls have won at the buzzer.
You know, if you look at the finals, you go, okay, you got this team against that team, but they have Michael Jordan. He'll will this team to win. And that's what you have to beat. You don't have to beat the Bulls. You have to beat his will. And I don't think that at this point in his life that's possible for him to do.
Michael Jordan playing despite flu symptoms. Pippen making Hornacek. Here's Jordan. Yes! It looks like he's a boxer just hanging on along the ropes.
Basketball today wouldn't be where it's at, you know, if Michael Jordan hadn't come along, and he and only he, you know, could take it to that level.
What I want to tell fans is set your VCRs now, because once he goes, that's the only thing you're going to have is the memories and all the plays, all the joy that he gave us, because it won't be another one, that's for sure.